Okay, it is 4 o'clock. We will call this meeting to order. And our first item is the approval of the agenda. I have a motion moved by Philip Smith, seconded by Bill Everett, that the agenda for the council meeting held March 28th, 2023 be approved as. Are there any amendments, Kathy?
Yes, there are. Under number 16, the closed session. We're having one more closed session regarding litigation or potential litigation as section 239 2E.
Okay.
And that's it, Madam Mayor.
Any questions or comments on the agenda? All those in favor? Carried. Okay. Before we go any further, please remember to shut your cell phones off. And I would like to begin by acknowledging that the land on which we gather is the traditional and unceded territory of the Algonquin Nation. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof of any item on tonight's agenda by any member of council? Susan?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I have to declare an interest with item 7F, the road allowance closure request.
Okay. We'll note that. And you've done the paperwork?
I've done the paperwork.
Okay. Anyone else? Seeing no one else, we'll go on to the approval of the minutes. Motion moved by Bill Everett, seconded by Philip Smith, that the minutes of the regular council meeting held March 14th, 2023 be approved as presented. Any discussion or amendments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Carried. Hey, mayor's remarks. Just a couple of remarks. Very happy to announce that the Ministry of Natural Resources has given us a grant of $150,000. We applied for $300,000, but we got $150,000 for the storm that went through. And this money will be used, $33,000 of it for cleanup and $117,000 of it for infrastructure that was damaged during the storm. So that might help a little bit with our budget expenditures there, where we were looking at fixing towers and siding and roofs and that type of thing. So we're very pleased to get it. I heard on the radio that Tweed got over $1 million, but when you look at the devastation along Highway 7, you can understand why they'd need $1 million plus probably another $1 million to do the cleanup that's needed there.
And North Frontenac got 190,000.
North Frontenac 190,000. So good. All right. I don't think I have anything else. Does anybody have any news of what's happening coming up or that's happened in the past couple of weeks? No? All right. So the remarks are short tonight. All right. Are there any deferred items?
Yes, there are, Madam Mayor. It's the setting the date for the special meeting to discuss the procedural bylaw and fire master plan recommendations. I have down April 26th as with a question mark. And I believe, Madam Mayor, that was one date that might have been available. You were available.
Yes.
So I don't know how that is for everyone else.
That is what date is that?
Oh, it's Craig's birthday.
Is it your birthday?
We'll have to have a cake.
Did you say April 26th?
April 26th. And I mean, you can set the time.
Wednesday.
It's a Wednesday.
It's a Wednesday.
Because it's after and it's it can be set earlier in the day. It's certainly up to council. If that date's a good date and time.
No. 4 o'clock,
Do you want to do 4? Do you want to?
end of the day.
Is the hall available, Cindy? Oh. Could have it at the fire hall.
Yeah. So shall we go ahead and book it and then we'll decide where we're going to have it from there? All right. So we have a motion moved by Philip Smith, seconded by Bill Everett, that council set a date for special meeting to discuss procedural bylaw and fire master plan recommendations for April the 26th at 4 p.m. at Location to be determined.
Yes.
Location to be determined. So it'll either be here or the fire hall.
Mhm.
Okay, all those in favor of the motion? Carried. Right. Now we're at staff reports, and our first one is Public Works, and Tyson is with us. Public Works Activity Report. Moved by Bill and seconded by Philip that council received the Public Works Activity Report as prepared by the Public Works Manager dated March 28th, 2023 for information. Any questions or comments for Tyson? Nikki?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Tyson, two questions. The Parham Mill there at 38. I know you'd said it was secure the last time you checked on it. I think with the ice melting and the snow melting, it's deteriorated more and it's really hanging off the side. If you could take a look at it again. And my other question is, when will the tenders be going out for the major road work for Westport Road and Arden Road?
Through you, Madam Mayor, to Councillor Gowdy, we'll definitely have staff take another look. And what we've been trying to do is take photos from the same location. So we'll have a really good comparison of the movement of that mill. I do drive by it every day and we still don't feel it's a risk to the 38 road, but we still think it's safe enough. The current arrangement with the property owner is holding off until the spring until we can get it properly removed. So we will follow up with that property owner as well. As for the tenders for the major road construction projects, Noah's been doing an excellent job with the tender prep. The tenders are just about ready to go. Tender drawings are just about ready to go. And you should see those advertised within the next couple of weeks, shooting for a council meeting and hopefully the next month or so.
Good. I only had two queries for pothole repairs, and that was Cannon Road and the Bordenwood Road. Both of which think they need some gravel after the potholes are taken out. Just passing that along. Anything else on the activity report? It is going to dry up one of these days.
Yes, I just, Danny's.
Go ahead. Oh, sorry, Dan.
Is the brusher still going, Tyson? Still going?
Through you, Madam Mayor, to Councillor Meeks, we are currently, the brusher is going today. We've had some electrical, I wouldn't even call them issues. We actually don't think it was set up properly for the brusher head. We're working with Hardington Farm Equipment to see if they're going to be able to mitigate these issues. It's currently only working as good as the Lee Bear was before, and we were promised better. So we'll bring an update in the next activity report on that, but we are currently just continuing to lease to own. In case we're glad that we went with the lease to own in case it doesn't work out. So I know that can be a little bit scary, but we're still working with Hardington Equipment to see if it's just a small electrical or plumbing issue. But it is operating right now.
Great. Thank you.
Okay. No other questions or comments? All those in favor of the motion? Carried.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to take a second just to
Yes.
shout out to all Public Works employees as the winter kind of comes to an end here, hopefully, knock on wood. That was a lot of weekends. It was a lot of weekends and a lot of missing time with family, and they did an excellent job. We had really good feedback this winter, and we had good feedback on also, I wanted to thank Chris Nelson for getting a little more info out to the public when winter events were coming and stuff like that. I think we're making improvements, so I'd like to thank my staff for that.
And I think council will echo that as well. It was an easy winter, but it was a tough winter with the storms that would come at the most inappropriate time. Christmas days and holidays, or any time when the guys could be off, were probably called out to work. So yeah, thank you on behalf of us to each and every one of them.
They will appreciate that. And we'll just ask the public to remain patient. This is our third spring we've already had in the last month here. So it's hard. There's just a little bit of frost still coming out of the roads, and we're trying to stay off them, but to not destroy them. But there's still 500 kilometers of road to look after. And they're all in bad shape right now, but in another couple of weeks, they'll dry up and they'll be in really good shape. So grading is ongoing and we just received all the parts we need to fix the one grader that's down. So we're in good shape.
Good, good. Okay. That is it for the roads department. Next is finance and treasury. Moved by Philip Smith, seconded by Bill Everett, that council received the check distribution reports totaling $793,758.18 as prepared by the treasurer for information. Any discussion or question on that report? All those in favor? Carried. Next, we have apportionment. Moved by Bill and seconded by Dan Meeks, that council approve the following apportionment of assessment as recommended by impact for 2021, 2022, and 2023 as applicable to the following roll numbers. And there are a pile of them there. Probably, what would there be, Michael? 4, 8, 12, 13, or 14? Okay. Any questions or comments? All those in favor? Carried.
So, Madam Mayor, just a comment, the provincial budget came down the other day, but we still don't have any indication of when assessments are going to be revalued. So stay tuned.
Yeah, that's too bad. All right, moved by Dan Meeks, seconded by Bill Everett, that council received the revised January CFFR 2023 stats from the manager of emergency services / fire chief for information. These were a whole different format. What do you think? Did you like that format? This is right off their system.
Yes.
Okay.
To give more detail, I think, as Councillor Gowdy was asking for.
Okay, all those in favor? Carried. I guess if the system's going to produce that report, makes it easier. Dan?
Is there any update on the county due to the medical calls, whether we get reimbursed for that or
No, the county will never.
we'll never
reimburse
reimburse the province?
No, the province won't reimburse them and they won't reimburse us.
Okay.
It's totally our cost.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah, the province isn't giving, so nor the county. Yeah. All right, we are at deputy chief position.
Yes, to ratify.
Moved by Craig Middleton, seconded by Susan Irwin, that council ratify the decision to hire a full-time deputy chief of fire prevention and training, and that council thank Jamie Riddell for his many years of dedicated service with Central Frontenac Fire Rescue Service. And I saw on Facebook, it's 35 years.
Was it 35? So
And further, that council authorize the CAO clerk to proceed to advertise for this position.
we should do a certificate.
Yes, we should do a certificate. 35 years. And he's going on to bigger and better.
Yeah.
All those in favor of the motion? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
On here, it just says the additional costs will be approximately $15,000. But it doesn't say where the money's coming from. So I thought we had decided that the money would come out of the training line, so it wouldn't affect the fire budget at all.
Yes,
I
I
just
did
wanted
put that.
clarity on that.
Yeah,
Please,
I
thank
just
you.
didn't put that all into the report. I just left it for reasons. There's okay, but yes, that's where it'll come from. Absolutely.
Okay, all those in favor? Carried. All right. Next. Road allowance closing. Moved by Craig Middleton, seconded by
Madam
Cindy.
Mayor, I have a conflict with
Oh,
this.
okay. Want to shut her mic off, Craig? Okay.
Turned it on.
Hey. Moved by Craig Middleton and seconded by Cindy Kelsey. The council approve in principle the recommendation of the CAO clerk to agree in principle to close part of the unopened road allowance between concession 10 and 11 Olden, as shown on the sketch attached to this report, as applied for by Timothy Rickards and Dale Rickards, and that we proceed to a public meeting to close the said road allowance before passing said bylaw. Discussions or questions for Cindy? Seeing none, all those in favor? Carried. There we go. All right. Criteria for assessing Mountain Grove and Hinchinbrook sale proposals. Moved by Craig Middleton, seconded by Susan Irwin. That council received this report prepared by the deputy clerk for information. And further, that council approved the proposed evaluation matrix to be used to assess proposals for the sale of the Mountain Grove former library fire hall and the Hinchinbrook school. Discussion. Cindy, go ahead.
Just a side note that the township might want to let Canada Post know so they can move the CMBs off the property. And maybe I could work with Tyson to find a better spot for them. So, but because you don't want to block people off once you sell it.
Right, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that has to be done. Bill,
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a two-part question. Due to the age of the school, should any weight be given to heritage insensitive actions? Or is it just an old building?
it's just an old building,
Thank you.
an old building that we want to sell for a new building's price. Okay, no other questions or comments? I think the one question we need to answer before we do the Hinchinbrook School is that piece we talked about dividing off for the fairgrounds. And there was also a letter in our package about the importance of that land not being separated, the acre or 2 acres to be given away for what may be proposed in future. So I guess the question is, do we want to take an acre off that before we put it up for sale? Or are we content to leave it as it is and see what kind of offers we get without reducing the size of the lot? Philip?
Do we need to decide that today, or can we see the proposals and understand what they're looking for and what they're looking to do, and then make that determination after?
You can, I believe, and I think probably people who will be responding will be, if they're aware of it, will be asking whether or not they agree that you can take some or that we shouldn't take some. Nikki?
A couple of a question and some points. So my question is, the letter we received, was there any financial offer in that letter?
I don't believe so, no.
Okay. And the reason that the Fair Board and the Rec Committee want to keep the property is not just parking and a couple of days here. Like there's a very good viable soccer field there. So we keep talking about multi-use sports complexes and stuff. If you were to keep that soccer field, you would have a soccer field, a ball diamond, a basketball court, pickleball, and a playground. So you've got to look at the needs of the community. So keeping that acreage is a good thing, in my opinion, for the township for recreation. And let's maybe wait and see what does come forward in offers and change our mind after, if that's the case.
Now, just for clarity, would that mean an acre of that would be all that you would need, or would it be 2 acres?
Personally, I think an acre would be suitable.
Okay.
But Philip, you've worked on both. What do you think?
I don't know how big a soccer field needs to be, so.
If I could jump in there, Crystal and I looked at the mapping and she showed me, because I didn't realize there had been soccer fields there at one point. So she showed me where on the mapping they were, and they were towards the school end. Like it did take up, we felt it took up pretty much the full 2 acres if we were to incorporate where the existing soccer fields were. That's not to say they couldn't be moved further back, I don't know, but where they had been playing soccer was closer to the school side than the fairground side.
Okay. Bill?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I was just going to say, an acre is only 208 feet by 208 feet. So, maybe 4 times the size of this building. It's not a lot of room.
Dan?
Does septic or well come into play on that, Cindy?
Through you, Madam Mayor, I did check with Crystal on that as well. I believe the septic system is located at the front and there's several wells in the rear. So they've got some testing wells and then I think two, I'm not sure, I think they have at least two regular wells and then one or two test wells. But we know the location of those, so obviously we would, have to make sure that we didn't encroach on those.
Okay.
Closer to.
Any other questions or comments? Oh, sorry, go ahead, Susan.
Just to play devil's advocate, Madam Mayor. I'm just wondering if the requirement to withhold those 2 acres will discourage potential purchasers. I know it's worded so that it's to be considered depending upon future development, but I guess it's a question of weighting. Is 5% too high, or do you want to reduce that to 2% or something like that? Just to play devil's advocate. Sorry, guys.
But if anybody has been listening to our meetings, they certainly would know that we have talked about this for a while. And maybe we need to make a statement that council has been looking at so that it's clear to anybody that's interested that will need to be negotiated. Is that reasonable, Cindy?
So, Madam Mayor, the way I worded it, I changed the wording in the final version that I published in the report. So the wording right now, I believe, refers to more of the concept of not keeping the land for the township for park purposes, but if they will consider making sort of an arrangement directly with the fair board for whatever parking, whatever they need for the fair. So if we're moving towards what I'm hearing you talking about right now, I think we would need to change the wording of that matrix to be a bit more specific about allowing the possibility, not necessarily the requirement, but the possibility to consider the actual severing off and retention of that piece of land to the township.
Okay, Susan?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Cindy. I'm just going to read what it says. So for Parham, will purchaser consider in good faith to allow Fair Board the use of no more than 2 acres at the rear property to provide overflow parking access until such time as redevelopment prevents this use?
What does that? That only says it for parking. It doesn't say it for soccer field. Do you think soccer is really something that there's a need for?
I was told yesterday that the Frontenac Soccer Association has resurrected itself, and there was a good, huge interest this year in bringing soccer back, and a field in Parham would be quite needed. So I'm just going by what I was told by the public yesterday.
Okay. Okay, Craig.
Did you not word it somehow in the advertisement, Cindy, that 2 acres will be negotiable and dependent on even if we get any offers or what they, I don't know, somebody offer you $10,000, you say we keep the school. Somebody says, I'll give you 10 million, we'll build a new soccer field. You don't want the 2 acres. Okay, take the 2 acres. I don't know.
Certainly to be negotiated.
The other item that was brought up by the public was that they use the soccer field at Grec, and now they will have to pay to use that soccer field in the summer. So that has to be a consideration as well. So I said I'd bring it forward.
I'm not even going to say what I'm thinking. Anyway. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Bill.
Apologies, Madam Mayor. I was going to say, isn't there a tit for tat with a soccer field and a baseball diamond?
Yeah, there is. Where buses park. Okay, Cindy, is that something that's workable?
So I guess the 2 questions for me then is, first of all, the amount of weight we want to put on this, and then also what is this? Is this, I think what I'm hearing is that you want the wording changed so that we will give some consideration, like 5 or 10% or whatever you want, consideration for offers that may may not require that 1 to 2 acres at the rear, and that may be happy to leave those in the township title as opposed to just allowing the use of.
Yes. Is that
Leave it in.
what we're saying? Okay. And again,
I
you
don't,
know,
I don't think you'd want to seal it off, Cindy, right yet, because you don't know what's gonna get offered to be developed there. You don't want to leave your lot too small.
And it will still allow offers to come in contemplating either one of those options. It's just that if an offer comes in that says we are willing to maybe give up 1 to 2 acres because we don't need it for development, that will weigh a little bit heavier in our weighting scheme right now because we've given some weight to that consideration. It's not a lot right now. It's only 5%. And again, we can talk about whether that's too low, too high.
I think 5% is reasonable in the scheme of the weighting. Okay. Any other questions or comments? I think it's certainly the fairest way of doing it, and you can show the prospective buyers why they won it or didn't win with using that matrix. Okay, all those in favor of the motion? Motion's carried. Next, we have committee organization in terms of reference templates, moved by Craig and seconded by Susan. The council received this report prepared by the deputy clerk for information, and further that council approved the proposed categorization of committees and provide comments on the associated templates as provided in the report. So did everybody have a chance to sort of work them through, and any comments? I think it makes sense. Cindy, go ahead.
One thing I did want to sort of point out or explain, because to a certain extent there are many moving parts on this, and we're in one way putting the cart before the horse with respect to the subcommittees for the recreation committees, because we haven't formalized. We're working through the Central Frontenac Recreation Committee. We're working on sort of a bylaw which will sort of set out the parameters of that, but we haven't finalized that yet. So you may have sort of wondered where the wording came from with the subcommittees, and that's going to sort of be fleshed out a little bit more when we finalize the wording in that bylaw, which we have a meeting on Thursday about.
Okay. All right, all those in favor? Carried. Thank you for doing that. It's not a simple issue to see it in your head and put it down on a piece of paper. All right, moved by Craig and seconded by Susan that the minutes of the District 1 Recreation Committee meeting held on December the 12th, 2022 be received for information. Any discussion? All those in favor? Carried. Moved by Craig, seconded by Susan, that the minutes of the District 4 Recreation Committee meeting held February the 15th, 2023 be received for information. Anybody want to speak to District 4? Go ahead.
Sorry, I had a question, so I don't know. Anyhow, it was about the ring property. Has that moved forward?
No, I think we've been sending it off to the lawyer to prepare the agreement.
Yeah, I spoke with the lawyer 2 weeks ago, shortly after the last meeting. I spoke with him. He said he'd work on it. I followed up with him yesterday because I hadn't received anything. So he either got busy on other stuff or it got shoved below. So I did follow up yesterday, but I got an out of office reply until tomorrow. So.
So
Okay.
it's
Nikki?
moving along.
They are, as soon as the black flies are done, the committee will have the work be to erect the fence along Wegerville Road. They have their annual volunteer appreciation dinner on Friday, April the 14th. There will be a 2-week Earth Day cleanup period, the last 2 weeks of April. And they are doing a fundraising calendar. If anybody has pictures of the area, that you are to email them to Bob. And the calendars will be on sale at the Parham Fair this summer. Oh, and one other thing, they would like to start pickleball at the Piccadilly Hall one night a week. And I spoke to Kathy and she said to bring it to council to see if anybody had a problem with them offering pickleball at the hall one night a week.
Inside the hall?
Inside the hall.
The only problem I have with that is the walls and the ceiling that get damaged. And the floor. They can't do it outside somewhere?
This would, so whether it wouldn't affect the weather, they could still have pickleball once a week. They do it in Verona at the Lions Club, and they've had no damage whatsoever to their floor, their roof, and it's a much lower roof than the Piccadilly Hall. They haven't hit a window, and they're quite successful with it. So.
Are they going to pay for the usage?
Are the other rec committees paying for usage for euchre night and other nights?
So
This is also a committee that gave money to buy property.
I know they wanted to do pickleball in here and we said no, because we finished this and we didn't want balls hitting the walls and ceilings and lights and all that stuff. Anyway, it's up to council. Are you prepared to go ahead, Susan?
Just a question. The Verona Hall, is it larger than the Piccadilly Hall?
Yeah.
So how many people could you accommodate?
It would only be one court, but you would have like a round robin taking turns playing.
Okay.
So like
Thank
a
you.
couple hours, 2 or 3 hours, one night a week. And they're hoping to get in maybe 3 to 4 games.
Lynn?
Thanks, Madam Mayor. If we've already said no to doing it here in the Oso Hall, what precedent does that set if we say yes to another hall?
I think each hall is different. I think with these lights, it's quite different than the Pick Hall or the Arden Hall.
The ball doesn't get hit up in the air. It's down, you're bent over down playing pickleball. If anybody's come over here and watched them play, it's not like they're beating the ball and trying to take off somebody's head or anything. It's a senior sport, so you're not, it's.
Hey, those seniors can get pretty riled. Okay. Lynn?
Can I propose that we do it on a trial basis, that if after a few months we notice damage, that we reassess then?
Yeah. Okay. So really, it could just be one of the uses that people call into the office and they book, right?
Yeah.
So that we know when it's being used.
And we'll mention it to the staff.
Okay. Anything else on your report? Okay. All right. All those in favor of the motion? Carried. Pretty soon the pickleballers will be out and going. Okay. Septic Implementation Committee, moved by Lynn and seconded by Cindy, that the minutes from the Septic Implementation Committee held March the 11th, 2022 be received for information. All those in favor, because half of us weren't at that meeting. More than half. Moved by Cindy, seconded by Lynn, that the draft minutes of the Charlotte Lake Farmers Market meeting held March the 2nd, 2023 be received for information. Any discussion, Susan?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. There were 2 items that the committee asked me to bring forward. We had our first meeting, and at that meeting, I believe there's been a request by the township that the trailer for the farmers market be moved from in front of the tourist information booth. And so the plans are afoot to move it when the snow is gone. I see the snow is gone from immediately in front of that area, but not all of the area. So that should happen soon. The other point that they asked me to bring forward was an inquiry about the washroom facilities at the beach or for the farmers market, what the plans are. So Tyson, if you're able to respond to that now, it'd be wonderful.
Through you, Madam Mayor, to Councillor Irwin. So the washrooms is a yearly thing, which is typically has in the past has been organized by our facilities coordinator. But I can follow up with Terry on that tomorrow. And as for the moving the farmers market trailer, last year Victor Heast did that with somebody's personal truck. So that'd be the first time that we've moved it, as far as I know, but we don't mind, but just have to meet with somebody for some direction, that's all.
Madam Mayor, if I could just respond to Tyson. I believe the committee members are planning to move the trailer themselves. So as far as I know, so that wouldn't be something that you
Oh,
have
okay.
to worry about.
Sorry, I must have heard you wrong. Sorry about that.
Typically, we do put a porta potty down there for the summer, do we
We do,
not?
yeah.
Yeah.
We actually, I think there's 2 or 3 in a row down there,
Yes.
right up against the fence, and this year will be up against that new fence, so.
So that should happen again this year?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah,
Okay.
that's a seasonal thing that's budgeted for, yeah.
Yes, good.
Thank you.
Okay. Any questions for Susan about the market? Sounds like it's going to be a good market again this year. All those in favor of the motion? Carried. All right, moving right along, we're at correspondence. Moved by Lynn and seconded by Cindy that the following correspondence be received for information, and it's 1 to 14 in your package. Any discussion? All those in favor? Carried. Correspondence. And there's no delegations.
It's the correspondence because for required action. Yeah.
Correspondence received. What's requiring action? Oh, this one. Okay.
Yes, it's
So moved by Lynn and seconded by Cindy. Whereas the treasurer for the Township of Central Frontenac estimates that approximately $652,000 of tax sales surplus proceeds has been paid into the courts since 2017. And whereas of that money, the township would have been entitled to approximately $253,000 to be paid out of court prior to the legislation change. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Council of the Township of Central Frontenac support the resolution from the town of Essex calling for the reinstatement of legislation permitting a municipality to retain surplus proceeds from tax sales. And further, that this resolution be forwarded to the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing, the Ministry of Finance, MPP John Jordan, and Association of Municipalities of Ontario. That's a huge amount of money that we could have in our coffers. Susan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to strongly support this resolution. In fact, on CBC News, Michael Crawley had an article or an analysis, and he pointed out that our provincial government seemed to be awash in surplus and municipalities were strained for cash. Wondering why that was. So this would go some way to perhaps easing some of the financial strain.
Yes, and I have a meeting coming up with John Jordan in April, and I will be sure to quote these numbers to him so that he understands in our little municipality how many dollars it means.
So, Madam Mayor, if I can just add to that a little bit, I went back further after that information was put in there, and we've paid over $1 million since 2012 into the tax sales surplus. We've received 455 of that, and 300 of that was related to Silver Lake Estates. So that won't happen again. Approximately $15,000 a year is what we've received historically. And just to clarify, the 253,000 was the opportunity to apply. So the owner would always apply for it first, or if somebody with an interest or tax sale surplus hunters, I'll say it that way, could potentially make an arrangement with the owner and get that money first. As the municipality could only apply for it after 1 year from when it was paid in. But we just this last year from a file that was started in 2015 received $40,000 in 2022. So it can add up real quick.
For sure. Okay, all those in favor of the motion? Carried.
Very much.
Yes. It's like a parent not giving you your allowance. All right. Public meetings. None. Bylaws and agreements. Notice of motions.
we have them right in the,
Right. I have,
they're in the agenda.
this is giving of notice of motions, right?
Yes.
Okay. Moved by Cindy Kelsey and seconded by Lynn Clegis that council receive for information the notice regarding, oh, sorry.
So you'd have to just say the notice of motions that have been,
Okay, so this
Okay.
one,
is for the Lions Club.
sorry, all right. So notice of motions, Councillor B. Everett to reestablish the Roads Committee created February 28th, 2005. And a notice of motion by Councillor Cindy Kelsey to change start time of council and committee of adjustment meetings from the set time of 4 p.m. to now 6 p.m. Notice of reconsideration of a motion, Councillor B. Everett, to revisit the Matthew Street and crosswalk decision. And notice of reconsideration of a motion, Councillor Nikki Gowdy, to revisit the Matthew Street Resolution 375, 2022, Report 138, 2022. Lots of them.
Yes, the resolution number 375 is what was in the minutes. The actual resolution is number 370. Okay,
370, 2022.
yes.
Okay. All right. So now those are in the record, and then next meeting,
Then they will be coming forth on the agenda. And the counselors that have, put the notice of motion can prepare a report and send it to Cindy. And then what happens is that will go in the package. So all council gets an opportunity to read, and it doesn't have to be a long report or anything, but just sort of pros, cons, what your thoughts are. And then that way it can be discussed. Okay.
and that has to be in before noon on Thursday,
Wednesday.
Wednesday, noon on Wednesday, before
Okay.
council. No,
No.
a week. Okay, now I'll read this motion about joint county council. Moved by Cindy and seconded by Lynn that council received for information the notice regarding the joint county township council meeting scheduled April the 12th at 5 p.m. at the Verona Lions Hall. And we need to know how many people are going in person
How many?
and how many will Zoom in. There is a Zoom opportunity.
And the dinner we found out is going to be lasagna. So if you're not fussy about lasagna, you may want to do the hybrid.
Those chairs are not comfortable.
Madam Mayor, do we know what the meeting's about?
Yeah.
Yes, it's about Eorn and what was it? Oh, 7 on 7.
Seven
Yeah.
and seven. Yeah,
7 years to build 7,000 homes, right?
yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's going to be a very interesting meeting. So how many are not going to attend so that we can give them numbers for food? 1, 2. Okay, so 2, maybe 3 will not be going. Okay,
So 3 will be hybrid.
okay,
Okay.
all right.
We just,
Bill,
and Bill.
okay, all those in favor of the motion? Carry. All right. Is there any new or other business? That's what we just did, I guess. And now we are at closed section.
Right. Do you want to have a few minutes break in a minute?
Let's read the motion
Sure.
and then we can have a quick break and then come back. So motion's moved by Lynn and seconded by Cindy that council move into closed session pursuant to section 239(2) of the Municipal Act to discuss the following matters. 1, personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, section 239(2)B. A position plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on behalf by or on behalf of the municipality or local board, section 239(2)K, waste site monitoring, and 3, litigation or potential litigation, section 239(2)C. All those in favor? Carry. So we'll have a 5-minute break